Hi everyone, Shafiq here. Welcome to another edition of Founders Forum, where we answer questions submitted by founders and innovators like yourself. But before we do, I want to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel somewhere over here, as well as click on the notification bell so you can gain immediate access to the latest episodes of our show where we help founders by answering critical questions related to systematically building your startup. All right. Hey, Steven, are you ready with our first question?
Hey there, Speak. I do have our first question right here. And this question comes from a serial entrepreneur who's working on his fourth startup. Now, this founder is returning back to startups after a stint in enterprise. And so this is his first startup in 10 years. As his startup is in the market validation phase, in the middle of market validation, he writes, I get the importance of planning how I may scale my startup while I'm in the market validation phase. What I don't quite understand is this just a paper activity where I'm supposed to capture my scale ideas, or is there more work to do beyond that? Also, what do I do with these scale ideas? Just leave them to the side until it's time to scale, or is there more to it?
Okay, so developing a scale hypothesis is an essential part of market validation. And why is that? Well, without your ability to grow fast, you as a startup are just going to get overrun by competition. So by being able to grow fast and outrun the competition, you can gain substantial footing in the marketplace. So in the market validation, you must be convinced that it is possible to scale using an existing proven model. For example, if you're building a SaaS offering targeted at enterprise, you know you can scale the offering because you've chosen the underlying cloud infrastructure as well as the database infrastructure that will allow you to scale the number of users without degradation in response times. Now, you know this because there are numerous existing SaaS vendors who provide similar complexity of software using the same underlying technology. So you know that you can scale the delivery of service, but you plan to grow using a sales team. And so it's great that you got the delivery part figured out. Now you got to figure out also the sales side and so on. And if you plan to grow using a sales team, and as you develop your hypothesis, you notice that most SaaS vendors have utilized a consumer sales model. So, in a consumer sales model, the employee can sign up for the service similar to yours using a credit card. And during your market validation, you notice that many IT managers made it especially difficult to get through a technical evaluation. So whereas when project managers sign up directly, they just start using your solution without getting any approvals. So your original hypothesis needs to change. Since the market is telling you that your solution will not scale cost effectively using a sales force, and more importantly, the IT guys are going to slow you down. So to truly scale fast, you need to build a self-serve sales model. Similarly, you will need to figure out how to scale your lead engine. In all cases, your hypotheses are first validated against existing industry practices. And next, once you know you can scale using an existing model, your next challenge is to figure out how to innovate the scale model. You will accomplish this in the repeated sales and delivery phase, where you will use the approach of making the scale version first work, then improve to decrease the time, and then finally the cost. It is during the repeated sales and delivery phase when you validate and improve upon your scale thesis. Once you have validation, you're also figuring out the key metrics that will help you constantly improve the lead to adoption time. In other words, from the time you get a lead to time when the product is adopted by your customer, while also decreasing the costs that it takes from the lead to get adoption. So the faster you can sell and deliver, the more competitive you become. Now, there's another book, by the way, I'd like to point out. It's called Blitzscaling, and in it, Reid Hoffman does a terrific job outlining some of the scale strategies. And I highly recommend everyone who's thinking about how to scale their business to read Reid's book. But remember, here you're just developing hypotheses. You're not actually executing. There'll be plenty of time later on during repeated sales and delivery when you get to figure those things out. And it's more important that you run fast than worry about cost. Stephen, would you like to add anything to this?
You've covered this pretty clearly. Simply enough, we're a startup in the market validation phase. As you said, the process of determining the feasibility of your scale hypothesis is essentially documenting the resources and methods previously developed by other businesses. Founders just need to think about this as an open book test. So you should leverage the ideas and strategies that worked, which does require some research. Blitzscaling is a great reference point. They have some great suggestions in there. And then from that, a founder needs to perform some preliminary analysis related to cost and effort so they understand what's involved to execute their scale plan when it's time. Now, when a startup is in that second development phase of repeatable sales and delivery, that is when validation of the scale plan will occur. And the main reason why you do that is you test out your hypothesis prior to executing it, which the execution portion comes out during the sustainable growth phase. All right, on to our second question. And this one comes from an unusual source, Shafiq. This question comes from a strategy consultant with one of the big four firms. And she writes, I was recently working on a proposal for an existing client related to a new service offering. The client asked our team to provide more detail on this new service, how our service works, and what their experience would be should they accept our proposal. It just so happens my husband has been watching your Building Lean shows, and he recommended that I use the buyer's journey flow to structure our presentation. I watched the episode where you covered this, and it makes sense. So, getting to her question. I'm curious, how did you come up with the buyer's journey, and why does it work? I haven't seen this in any of my MBA classes, and our firm has never used this approach.
Okay, so the buyer's journey is derived from the book, The New Solution Selling by Keith Eads. In the book, Keith refers to the work salespeople have to do to manage their buyer. Now, Keith wrote the book at a time when face-to-face selling sales were the norm for complex enterprise products. Since then, many Silicon Valley companies have innovated by moving away from complex sales scenarios and turning their product into more of a self-serve transaction. So Steve and my contribution to the original work was to present the concepts from the buyer's perspective rather than the salesperson's perspective. We wanted you as the product manager to put yourself in the buyer's shoes so that you could design a lead engine and a sales engine that would help you lead your buyers through the buying cycle without, and without understanding the buyer's journey, you cannot compete in the marketplace where your competitors are able to outsell you. Now, our buyer's journey is intended, for most first-time purchases of new product. It is not intended to describe the everyday purchases of known products. Also, we assume a rational buyer. We believe by assuming a rational buyer, you will design much superior products. There are many people on the internet who will preach all kinds of gimmicks that make buyer take actions by taking advantage of the buyers, by taking advantage of the buyer. And then these tricks rely on the buyer not having enough time or their fear of missing out, as well as the impulsivity of the buyers. We think these gimmicks are shortcuts that keep you from making your product great and want you to avoid them at all costs. Now, if you make a B2B product of any substantial cost, then you will most certainly face a rational buying process. In which case, you're going to be well prepared. But it's also true for B2C products. Remember, there are always thought leaders in every product category that look at your product from a rational buying perspective. And getting bad reviews from known experts in the field, and you will have lost the opportunity to become the market leader. So it makes sense to follow the rational purchasing process. Steven, can you add some of your thoughts on this?
I think the most important part of what you said is that the buyer's journey reflects the buyer's point of view. And this is really intentional, as it's far too easy for an entrepreneur, product manager, innovator, or in the case of this question, a consultant, to lose the customer's perspective. And if you think about it, as consumers ourselves, we expect products and services to be designed around our own needs. So why should that change when we develop solutions for others? Okay, here's our last question, Shafiq, and it comes from a first-time founder whose startup idea is an industrial product for the chemical industry. Oh, and this startup is also in the market validation phase. This founder writes, I noticed that many Silicon Valley startups have customer acquisition costs that are essentially zero. When developing your scale thesis, how do you establish, how as a founder do you establish the goals for reducing the time spent and then reducing the costs?
Okay, so goals are one of those things that are always tough. So when establishing goals, remember, it's not a leap to the top, but reasonable steps that you can implement fast that help you drive down the time and then the cost, because we're talking about scale here. So remember, it's first time, then cost. So as far as time, it depends on the product. For example, if you have a food product, then you want at least 50% adoption on first taste. Sampling is the fastest method for getting buyers through the buyer's journey. So you eliminate all the risk and they know what it'll taste like. So you want to make it count. That is why adoption rates of 50% or above are necessary to keep selling costs low enough. So your job is to improve the product fast enough so that your adoption rates are at least 50% the first time somebody tastes it in your target market segment. Similarly, for software products, to gain adoption, you want a minimum of everyday usage. Otherwise, there's a strong possibility of your users simply forgetting about your solution. So how fast you get users using your product every day is your goal. And that could be within 1 day from sign up or 7 days. The point is to keep improving the time it takes to get adoption into the shortest time possible. Also, for cost metric, you want your overall customer acquisition costs to go to as close to zero as possible. Now, it's not always possible, but your job is to innovate your way to reducing these costs. Now, Steven, I noticed you have a little different way of looking at it. Do you want to share your thoughts on this?
I do, but I want to mention a couple things first. First off, I love these questions. These are great, and it really speaks to our hearts. Our goal is to really democratize the process of building a startup because we believe that you founders absolutely can get there. You just need some help, maybe some encouragement, some guidance, some direction, and that's what we're really focused on. Now, the other thing is, for those of you who've been watching our Q&A for a while, you may have already picked up on this, but we like to know the startup phase a founder is going through when answering their question. What this does is this enables us to tailor our answers and then not guide someone into taking inappropriate actions that are either too advanced or too basic for their circumstances. So in this case, for a founder who's just in the market validation phase, they can benefit from being able to look a bit ahead and plant some seeds that they can cultivate later. They can only do this so long as they maintain focus on the immediate tasks at hand. Let's not freelance and start doing things out of order. We can just plan ahead. So what can they do? Well, all founders can reduce their customer acquisition costs through the use of earned media. So you may be wondering, what is earned media? Earned media comprises publicity for your business as well as ratings and reviews or word of mouth from customers. This is where the concept of virality comes from. And earned media is in contrast to paid media, which comes from advertising and sponsorships, or owned media, which would be marketing materials, press releases, blogs, or YouTube channels. Now, it's easiest to generate earned media when you're a disruptor in your industry and you're willing to offer yourself as a credible news source to journalists. Now, here's the thing. This isn't always easy or sustainable. So most startups focus on generating earned media through word of mouth customer referrals. So to do this effectively, your product design needs to plan and account for network effects to make it easy for your customers to talk to their peers about your product. With software, designing for network effects is easy, but for physical products, a startup needs to plan a bit more. So recently, I've noticed that most products that I bought on Amazon have the network effect designed in, and I'm talking about physical products here. So usually it's a simple card that's at the top of the package when opening it. On one side, there will be a message thanking me for the purchase and asking for a recommendation, a favorable review, or even offering a discount for a repeat purchase or customer referral. Now, that's not where it stops. On the other side of the card will be instructions to quickly receive help if something is wrong with the product, or if I have a question, or if there's a warranty issue. Pretty smart in a pretty tight package and a small card that sticks out right away. And when I think about it, I'm sure a similar plan could be developed for an industrial product, especially for a startup in the market validation phase. Even if it's the founder personally calling the buyer a week after product delivery to check on the customer satisfaction. Okay, that's all the time we have for questions right now. If you're looking to build your startup lean, please click the link nearby or drop your question in the comments below. Also, please subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you can receive immediate access to our latest episodes. Building Lean is brought to you by LeanMastery Incubator. Unlike other incubators or accelerators that rush you to pitch to investors whether you're ready or not, LeanMastery guides you in building key business functions that turn up revenues fast, which puts you in the best position to successfully raise money and outrun your competition. Learn more about how you can become a LeanMastery Incubator member at leanmastery.co. Thank you all for watching, and we look forward to helping you be successful in pursuing your startup dreams by building lean.